T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Fellas, it all comes down to this. Okay, so we work on this podcast all year to reach this point, and it's now here. The Super Bowl is set. It's the Chiefs and 49ers in Las Vegas. So, but first, before we get into the predictions and what we predicted for this year, let's look back at the AFC and NFC championship games. Lugs, how are you? What was your biggest surprise from the AFC or NFC championship game?
Well, to me, the AFC championship game, you've got one of the best running teams going against one of the worst defensive teams against the run, with the Ravens going against the Chiefs. Gus Edwards got one carry in the first half for 15 yards, and then it was bye-bye. Second half, and he got one carry in the second half, I think. Anyway, they only did like 6 or 8 running plays for the whole game. To me, if that was the game plan that Todd Monken came up with, Todd Monken needs to be taken out back and have his butt kicked so hard, as my old football coach says, his nose would bleed. Because it's amazing to me. Why would you go away from your strength? So that was the biggest surprise for me. And again, they're only behind. At that point, they were behind 10 points. It's crazy. If I were the Baltimore defensive players, I'd have to take it out on somebody, somewhere. So that was the big surprise in that first game. What do you think about the first game, dog?
I think my main takeaway from the first game is just Patrick Mahomes. First half, just particularly that first drive was just surgical, just eating clock and play after play after play. He and Kelsey, I know they've done it forever. They literally, as you know, Kelsey surpassed Jerry Rice for the most postseason receptions. I believe he's over 151. I believe was Jerry Rice's record. Just surgically, that touchdown that it was one-on-one coverage with Hamilton, and Hamilton had good coverage. Just dropped it in a perfect spot where Kelsey's falling on the ground and catches it on his chest sliding. Just how surgical he was, and I know they didn't score any points in the second half, but just him understanding not to make the turnover because how well their defense has played this whole year, and shockingly, every game, during this postseason, like they've kind of stood out, and this was maybe their best game besides the Miami Dolphins one. Just maybe they gave up some yards, a lot of yards in the second half to the Ravens, but each time the Ravens got in the red zone, be it Snead punching the ball out and then it being recovered by McDuffie, or, just an awful forced throw by Lamar Jackson to Likely and triple coverage. I can't say enough about why I feel so dumb for doubting the Kansas City Chiefs possibly winning this game. I know I went with Lamar, and I agree with you, Lugs. They have a weakness, and you decide not to exploit it, you probably deserve to lose.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in a thought on that too. Lugs, you're right. Gus Edwards, 3 carries the entire game. Number 2, defense holds the Chiefs to 17 points. Okay, anybody should be able to beat anybody if you only give up 17 points. And number 3, I heard an interview, and T-Dog, you're going to have to back me up on who it was, defensive back for the Chiefs says, where our game plan was to force Lamar to pass. And the commentator said, well, if Lamar is going to be the MVP, he's a quarterback. Shouldn't he be able to pass and win? Or is it always about the run? So there's going to be a lot of Lamar back and forth on that. But nonetheless, there's that. And I just thought, it's disappointing for Lamar. But again, here's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs doing what they do. Not winning pretty, but winning and going on. Win and survive.
Yeah, it was one of those things for me as far as Kansas City. I give it to them. They've hung in all season with a team that's not their best team by any stretch of the imagination. But I just have to question that game plan on the Ravens side. It makes no sense to me. These are guys that are highly paid, these coordinators. They're supposed to be the gurus of their club on whatever side of the ball they're on. And yet, you can't have Lamar throw that many times. They knew they weren't going to run. It was amazing to me. You could tell Kansas City knew they're not going to run it. So they can just clog the middle and just win the game, which is what they did.
I think my other takeaway was I think Kansas City, to some degree, I mean, they'll never say it. I think they kind of understood, like, maybe overall talent-wise, maybe not in certain key aspects. Baltimore is better. So they made it a chippy game. They jaw-jacked a lot. And because, they're so experienced in these playoff runs at key components, like, they knew how to keep their cool. And I think a big part of this game, too, was Ravens collectively just had no composure. I know a lot of people complain about the Chiefs getting all the calls in all these playoff games, and maybe there's valid examples in other games. But, I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, if you go back and watch, like, almost all the personal, like, or the big flags, I mean, usually it's personal fouls on guys losing composure or, Zay Flowers taunting thing. Those are all legitimate. Those are all legitimate flags. Anyone who says that that's a BS call by the refs is like, I mean, you're never going to believe in the refs. I mean, those are textbook by the numbers. I mean, Roquan blowing up that guy for a personal foul, 15 yards. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Well, Zay Flowers made just a great catch, and then he has to pull the taunt. And, it was just like every time that they couldn't get out of their own way, really.
And then he hurt himself after that. After he had the fumble, he banged his hands on the ground and he cut up and lacerated one of his fingers.
Yep.
I don't know how much. And it stinks because here's a rookie. He had a great year. And, to end the season, I know he had some kind of blunders here and there. He caught a 30-yard pass for a touchdown, and he had 150 yards, 15 yards receiving. He's still, to some degree, a highlight for them in this game. Like, he's clearly their best receiver at this point.
Just has to grow up a little bit, right?
And I think the same thing with Lamar. I mean, look, we're all big Lamar supporters, but, like, again, he lost his cool. Like, he lost his composure. And again, even the biggest apologists for Lamar Jackson, when they were down by 10, and he forced that throw into triple coverage, and it's like, I don't even know what he's looking at, like, to be willing to throw that ball. Like, at the very least, if there's nothing there, try to run for some yards or throw the ball out of bounds, kick a field goal so that you get it down to one score. The one penalty that I think that should have been called that wasn't, the likely holding where they did kick the field goal to make it 17-10. I will agree with everyone on that. They should have called that for the Ravens. But like I said, I just think, the Chiefs were a more heady team. I still think overall personnel, they're not as good as this Ravens team, but, they had a good game plan for the most part. And like I said, Pacheco, was he effective running the ball? No, but they wanted to eat up clock. They wanted to keep this Ravens team on the sidelines because they know you saw, the week prior, against the Houston Texans. If they get a chance to rev up, they can rev up very quickly. So just don't give them that chance. I mean, he had 24 carries for 68 yards. Obviously, it's not really efficient, but again, like they're still, converting certain downs and, chewing clock. And like I said, I kind of like what J-Boy said it, like I feel bad for the defense because the Ravens defense really showed up in the second half, and the offense for the Ravens was moving the ball, but just every time they got in critical situations, they turned the ball over, and they should have won this game.
Yep. I think we all agree. All right, shall we move on to the second game? Niners, Lions, the tale of two halves. It was a fun game to watch, but if you're a Lions fan, oh well, it's another year. Lugs, what'd you think?
Jeez.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. We love Dan Campbell, but Dan Campbell cost his team that game by going for it on those fourth downs. Take the points. This is playoff football. This ain't your backyard sandlot. Take those points. I was totally impressed. I mean, they being the Lions were very, very prepared. They really were. In that running game, those two guys, and let's be honest, they'll be back. There's just no, and Goff did himself proud. But I got to give it, you got to give it to the 49ers to come back as far as they were down. When that one pass bounced off the helmet and the guy caught it for the 49ers, that just lets you know the gods are with them. So, at that point, you just let it go.
Was Jerry Rice up in the crowd there pulling some strings or something to get that to happen like that? It's like, wow, you're right.
That says that, momentum is yours now. Go ahead and go. So what do you think, dog?
I think my main takeaway is I can understand the Dan Campbell thing, but I'm not going to fault them because since, they're, a few years ago, their turning point where they lost the Rams, where they just started throwing the kitchen sink, and that just became their identity. I don't blame them, particularly because too their kicker they started the season off with, Riley Patterson. They went away from Michael Bagley, who I think if you kind of like looked at it once they brought him in, like they didn't really trust him beyond 41 yards, and I think both those kicks would have been 45 yards and beyond. I think the one thing that's frustrating to me is if you look on some of those plays, Jared Goff, like you said, he played a good game. He was let down by key drops. I mean, Ryan Reynolds should have converted that fourth down pass at the beginning of the second half. I mean, it was a 4th and 2. It hit him right in the hands.
Yep.
And then, the next drive, they got very early in the drive, Jahmyr Gibbs, who's been an awesome sensation for them at running back, he fumbles the ball. And then the very next drive, again, Reynolds drops a 3rd and 10 where I even think he bobbles it. Like it was in his hands, and he double clutched it and it fell to the ground. So I get, blaming Campbell. The one I will agree with you on Campbell, where I don't have a problem with being aggressive. Why they ran the ball at the end of the game on their touchdown to get it within 3. They had 3 timeouts. They ran the ball, like when they're in the goal line, they don't get in. They call a timeout, and then they finally, score on a Jared Goff pass to Jameson Williams. It's like, well, you're going to try to onside kick it with 2 timeouts. Like
right.
How they've adjusted the rules, not that the percentage was ever high, but how they've adjusted the rules on onside kicks, you're pretty much never recovering an onside kick.
Yeah, the percentage is like what, less than 5% or something now across the league. It's really rough. It's unfortunate.
And I understand in terms of health. I just wish they would change the rule to, like, if you want to try to get the ball back, you start on your own 20 and you have to convert, a 4th and 15, right? Instead of doing onside kick, because why were you even doing the onside kick? It's futile. Yeah, so like have them start on like the 15 and their own 15 and have to convert a 4th and 15 to, recuperate the ball, right? I think they talked about something along those lines with I mean, that would be better. But anyway, I will blame Campbell on that. But overall, like Lug said, before talking on the victor, I just want to give props to the coaching staff and a big win for them today. Ben Johnson, who looked like he was going to get the commander's job, or some of these jobs that were out there, he decides he's going to stay another year. So
love that.
He's got unfinished.
Love that.
So and kind of like Lug said, like this Thunder and Lightning, or whatever you want to call it, blue and silver, blitzkrieg, the Lions running attack. I mean, they had 158 yards in the first half, and for them to only muster 24 yards in the second half rushing is kind of perplexing, and I just think, the things they need to build on is they're going to get Ben Johnson back. I think they're going to add some pieces on their defense. Not to say their offense is complete, but like it's close to completion in terms of pieces. I think Laporte will have another year of experience where he looks like a star already. Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back, looks like a star already, and he developed so much as a pass protector in the back half of the season, where like he not only wasn't not a liability, but he's actually good at it. And again, that's a credit to him and the coaching staff. But in terms of victor goes to spoils, he could be up and down, but got to give credit to Nick Bosa. He had 2 huge sacks in this game. They both came in the first half. One created the only punt before halftime by the Lions, and considering how hot they were, think about if they did score on that other drive. And the other one helped hold them to a field goal at the end of the second quarter. So I just want to give him props. And as great as the Lions were in the first half, I mean, the 49ers scored 27 points in the second half.
Wow.
They scored on their first 5 drives of the after the half, and the only drive they didn't score on was the one to end the game. So just credit to them, and Purdy, he's always going to be in debate for some people. I don't know, he's had some up and down moments this year, but if you want to talk about clutch, he had 2 great scrambles in the second half to keep drives alive. And, shockingly, as much as people say running backs are overrated, that McCaffrey trade keeps paying off. He had 132 all-purpose yards, 2 TDs. And, again, they didn't have him last week or for most of the game because he was injured. Having Debo back makes a world of difference. Just his versatility and his explosions just adds an element to the 49ers that is so unique. I think it's hard for teams to game plan for. And like Lug said, you knew it was trouble in terms of momentum when Purdy threw up that 50-yard pass and it bounced off Kendall Woodward's helmet and it landed right in Brandon Ayuk's hands. You're like, this is not good. This is starting to swing the other way.
So my youngest daughter said, Brock Purdy is 2 months younger than me. He's 24 years old, and I got to say, you mentioned those 2 scrambles. That, I think, won the game. I mean, when it was needed, it was there. Say what you want about that kid with no facial affect, and Lugs doesn't like him, but I think this kid's a future. I mean, he played well, man. He's the guy. What do you think, Lugs, about Brock Purdy?
All he does is win, I guess.
Yeah.
I have to go back to that chestnut.
He's like 21-5 or something, isn't he? Crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. And you got to give it to the NFL. They got to be loving it.
Oh, my gosh.
Both of those games averaged between 55 and 60 million viewers. Think about that. A big viewership now on a network TV is what, 7 million, 6 million?
Right. And it's a hit. It's a big hit. Right. 7 million. Yeah. Right.
Right. So they're just counting the dollars. I mean, think about just the nutty stuff of, I saw some stats about how people were complaining about them showing Taylor Swift. In that game, which was about 3 hours and 40 minutes or so, she was only shown 24 seconds total. Think about that.
Yeah.
And also in that game, you only got to see 18 minutes of actual football. The rest of it was replays, commercials, and I guess shots of Taylor Swift. But I got to say, I still love my man, Jason Kelsey, man. That boy, he adds a whole new flavor to the world. I saw an interview with his wife, and she said on their first date, somebody had set him up, and it was after a game. He went to sleep about 20 minutes into they were at a restaurant, and he just went to sleep. It's nuts. But, like I say, it is the viewing model for, I don't know if anybody can replicate it. Nobody cares about NBA because those players are just such prima donnas fighting over shoe contracts and stuff like that.
Tell us what you really think, will you? I mean, I don't understand what you're talking about. Hockey is just hockey. If you're not born to slap a puck around, it's hard to get into it. And baseball, well, other than the Dominican Republic, who's watching any baseball? So what is wrong with you, man? What is wrong with you? What is wrong?
I needed to get it off my chest. So.
Yeah, well, whatever. You're right. It's the match made in heaven for the NFL. You got Taylor Swift and Kelsey, whatever's going on there. You got Las Vegas. Fellas, in the secondary market, tickets are 9,000 plus. That's today. Like 2 years ago, those tickets were 5,000 in the secondary market. It's ridiculous. I guess people are saying, well, I can get to Vegas on a cheap flight. I'll just go buy a $9,000 seat. What? I mean, the whole thing is just setting up. And Lugs, those numbers, those viewing numbers, those compare to like previous close Super Bowl numbers. It's ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we are all, we run right to that TV to see all that stuff. So
Roger Goodell's people.
And, let's be honest, I love the football. NFL, I do. I mean, I like college football as well, but after NFL's off, what are you going to have? Luge, maybe?
Olympics aren't till August, man. We got a long-ass way to go on that. The Paris Games that they hired Snoop Dogg to be a commentator. Whatever that's about, I don't know what we're going to do.
I think what
the best
we have to do is professional cornhole and maybe a little hurling. I could go for some hurling. I like to watch those muscular women push that rock, so there you are.
Muscular women.
This has gone all over the place.
Wow, I guess it has. So
it's the other stuff that we need.
That's true.
No, this is. Actually, I mean, I don't have like the golf channel. The one like beach sport I wish was more. Have you ever seen the long driver challenges?
No, sir.
Where it's just about like essentially it's like a home run derby, but for golf. It's like whoever can like just whack the ball the furthest. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just like guys like it, Top Golf, like trying to bang it 400 yards or whatever. Like that's the whole sport.
So T-Dog, take us back. Go ahead, Lugs.
I was just going to say that should be dominated by John Daly, provided he's sober enough to swing a club.
Yeah, the longest drink, the longest drive.
I'm telling you, that was his forte. I mean, he could just kill that ball.
Lay it out. All right, T-Dog, so let's eat some crow, maybe. We'll see. How did we do way back in August when we thought, well, we know this NFL pretty well. Who did we have in the Super Bowl? Take it away.
Well,
is it good news or bad news?
Bad news for all of us. In early fall, before the season began, we all made our predictions. And I'll start out with Lugs. Lugs had the Bengals versus the Eagles, and he said it was going to be a tight one, but the Bengals would prevail. Now, to be fair to him, I think Joe Burrow was going to turn around. The injury was unfortunate. Like, they were getting hot. I don't know if they would have made the Super Bowl, but they would have definitely felt like they were going to be in the mix. And the Eagles, I still don't know what the hell happened to the Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles, J-Boy had the Eagles versus the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, missed it.
He loves his birds.
I do. Bird stew, baby. Birds.
He also had the Seahawks in the playoffs and the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, God.
But,
wow.
No, you did. I don't think you did.
I probably did.
Maybe Atlanta. Maybe both. I don't know. But you had Baltimore, coming through against the Eagles. And like I said, to be fair, I think you were probably honestly the closest because I still think they were their better team. They had a bad game plan, like Lug said, and I just think they did not play with composure and focus.
Agree.
So it does stink for you. I think you were the closest.
What'd you have?
I had.
Oh boy!
Speaking of being off the mark,
the Raiders or what?
I did have the 49ers in it, so I did get that part right. But again, I like before in the green room, I was telling J-Boy, I can't really take credit for that. They were in the championship 4 years ago. They've been in the NFC title game now 4 years in a row. So it's that's essentially very chalky. But I had the Bills. I believed in the Bills. I wanted to try to will that into existence for the Bills Mafia. They've, all those Jimmy. But I thought the Bills would win. So none of us.
That's admirable, though. You had a good thought. I like that. You were thinking about them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, crow soup for all. So.
Wow. Well, that's why we make a lot of money doing this. But sort of the wise guys, that's why they have those expensive chandeliers in Las Vegas. Somebody's got to pay for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, so what if we do this? Why don't we go ahead and listen to Lugs prepare and give us sports of yesteryear, and then we'll come back and give our predictions for the big Super Bowl. Want to say that? Want to do that?
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Here comes the open. It's sports of yesteryear with our man Lugs. He's out there cruising around in his Pinto, trying to make ends meet. And he's got sports of yesteryear right now. Come on in, Lugs.
All right. 1924, Austrians Helene Eagleman and Alfred Berger win the pair skating gold medal at the Chamonix Winter Olympics. They beat the Finnish pair Ludwika Jacobsen and Walter Jacobsen by just 0.39 points. Whoa. 1941, in his 13th title defense, Joe Louis KOs Red Berman, never heard of him, in the 5th round at Madison Square Garden to retain his heavyweight crown. 1982, 32nd NBA All-Star Game. East beats West, 120-118. MVP Larry Bird, our guy from French Lick, Indiana. All right, 1988, Super Bowl 22, Jack Murphy Stadium. Redskins, the then Redskins, the now Commanders, beat the Denver Broncos 42-10. MVP is Doug Williams, the Washington quarterback. 1991, Denver Nuggets, Michael Adams becomes the shortest NBA player to get a triple-double. How would you like to be known for that? Hey, short stuff, you got 3.
Shorty.
And 2009, Australian Open women's tennis, Serena Williams wins her 10th Grand Slam singles title, outclasses Dinara Safina of Russia 6-0, 6-3. That's all for this edition of Sports of Yesteryear.
Thank you, Lugs. There's a couple of things in there. Where the heck is Chamonix?
It's in France somewhere,
France,
so I assume it's wherever there's some mountains in France.
And it just sounds funny when you say the Finnish pair. I don't know why that sounds funny, but it just does. And then I think you got somebody wrong. Walter Jacobsen, he used to anchor WBBM Channel 2, CBS in Chicago. Same guy?
No. 1924, I don't think Walter was hanging out for
He used
that
to anchor
long.
with Bill Curtis. Okay, never mind. We'll leave that off the docket today. All right, so this is Super Bowl 58. It's coming up on February the 11th, which is pretty late for a Super Bowl, but with all the added weeks and extra week of games. So how do you want to do this? Lugs, do you have a feeling on this game? Who do you like?
Well, I got to tell you, I bet against Patrick Mahomes once and lost big time. I'm not going to bet against him again. I think this will come down to quarterback play, and obviously Mahomes is a way better quarterback than Purdy. I'm not going to take anything away from Purdy. He happens to be in a great situation, and he's delivered in both of these in the previous two games. So, but I just think bottom line, Kansas City, they're ready. They're actually catching the ball. And, you know,
true.
Pacheco is running well enough. I don't know what happened to Edwards-Helaire. I just don't. He must be injured or whatever.
No,
but
I want to say he played. He made a decent play in the Bills game. So like he's just used sporadically.
Yeah,
Short yardage specialist or something. Who knows?
Well, anyway, I got to go with the Chiefs. I think they'll score some points. I'm thinking it'll be like 35-28 Chiefs.
Wow, lots of points. That's big. That's big. T-Dog, what do you like on this Super Bowl 58? Oh, by the way, called by Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on CBS.
That's not really a ringing endorsement for me.
You can turn down the TV sound and pull up your favorite.
I will turn it down. Because it's J-Boy, you're the one who's not a big fan of Tony Romo, right?
No, I don't. Not a big fan. No, he just keeps talking.
I think I'm more on your side on how I feel about Tony Romo right now than Luggs.
He just keeps talking.
I understand why Luggs likes him because he does annoy Jim Nantz, and I do appreciate that. I do. I actually agree with that.
You guys, you just want somebody to irritate Jim Nantz? I love that.
Yes, I do. But anyway, good. I guess speaking of the game, I think the 49ers are going to be locked in. And I think, there's still some key components of this team that were on that team that lost to the Chiefs 4 years ago. Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, Debo, and George Kittle, and the Warner. And I think, it has to be setting at Shanahan's mind. Shanahan has, he was a part of the Atlanta choking away 28-3 lead. Having a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against this Chiefs team 4 years ago and losing.
That's right.
So I think they're going to be locked in. And unlike the Ravens, they're not going to run the ball. That's the one thing you can guarantee with the 49ers. They're not going to forget to run the ball.
True.
That being said.
Yes.
I'm not going to overthink it, even though it sounded like I was overthinking it. I agree with Luggs. I like Brock Purdy a lot. I think he is more than a system quarterback. I think, again, why he instantaneously was better than Jimmy Garoppolo is when the plays break down, like those scrambles, he can create plays.
Yep.
So he is more than a system quarterback. He is that. But as we saw, Lamar deserved to win the MVP this year for his body of work over, weeks 1 through 18. But at the end of the day, the man at the top of the mountain, Patrick Mahomes, is still the man at the top of the mountain.
Wow.
And I do not think Brock Purdy is going to knock the man off the top of the mountain. I think he is so locked in. And I know I said this about Lamar last week about being locked in. I think Patrick Mahomes is now so locked in what his trajectory for his destiny in terms of the Rushmore of quarterbacks is possibly going to be if he wins this third title this early in his career. I don't see him allowing anybody on this team not showing up. this defense that has been absolutely the one shining light all year, consistent week in, week out for this team for the most part, has been this defense. I don't see them not showing up, particularly if this is the swan song for Chris Jones, because remember, Chris Jones only signed one.
That's right.
So, like, he wants to maybe go out a chief on the highest note. And I just think Andy Reid, again, what a turnaround for Andy Reid, for the guy who was always a bridesmaid.
True.
Up until this Patrick Mahomes turn to now he's on trajectory to be one of the greatest coaches of the Super Bowl era. So I'm going with the Chiefs 24-20.
24-20. He goes Chiefs on us. And by the way, T-Dog, as you said, that would give Andy Reid Lombardi Trophy number 3, and I think that puts him like, okay, you got other guys.
Bill
who have
Walsh.
More. Yeah, Bill Walsh has 3 and a couple others, right?
Yeah.
So he gets up the
Joe
pecking
Gibbs.
order.
Joe Gibbs.
Yep.
Joe Gibbs has 3.
So suddenly he becomes one of the greatest of all time.
Yep. Pash is Mike Shanahan, who bizarrely is still not in the Hall of Fame, which I don't get. But Mike Shanahan has 2, so he surpassed Mike Shanahan.
That's because Kyle's not really his son. Maybe I read that online somewhere. All right, I like your way you guys are thinking, but you couldn't be any more wrong. I think the Niners have way too much going for them. McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Joey Bosa, and Brock Purdy. See, here's the thing. Purdy's got, I hate the expression, but he is playing with house money on this one. Patrick's got to do it. Go, dog. How's Patrick, dog? Here we go, dog. No, Brock Purdy and the Niners will win. Brock Purdy will be the MVP of the game. And the Niners will win 24-17 all day long. Who do you think would be the MVP of the game from your guys' standpoint?
Well, I'd have to go with Mahomes.
Oh, come on. That's an easy call.
Well, I mean, if you're thinking what I honestly think, I think it'll be Mahomes.
Good.
I think maybe just to troll like those people that bizarrely are mad about 24 seconds of Taylor Swift, I think Travis Kelce will have a big game, and they'll want to give it to Travis Kelce so he can make a shout out to maybe Taylor Swift
and they can drive away in that convertible like they did earlier this year?
Yeah, like just to make them mad. So I made it different, even though realistically I also go with Patrick Mahomes, because kind of like it almost always goes to a quarterback.
I know. But wouldn't that be cool if Travis and Taylor got in that, whatever that was, old Buick convertible, drive off in the Arizona or the Nevada desert out of Las Vegas? Wouldn't that be sweet? Oh,
ideally, if they do win, they get into a car and they start driving away, and then all of a sudden you have like a shot from the front of the car, and then you see it like actually levitating off the ground, and you see them turn around and start waving to people like the end of Grease.
Ooh.
Where they're flying away.
Ooh, I'm liking that.
Well,
we got a couple of weeks, a week and a half till the big game, week from.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it shakes out. All the excitement. Got the Pro Bowl games, or what are they calling that again this year? What are they calling that whole thing?
It's a flag football
extravaganza. What is it?
Yeah, look. As a defender of it, is it a great product? I don't think so. Is it better than what the Pro Bowl devolved into? Yes, it is emphatically better than whatever the Pro Bowl. It's more watchable. Like they don't wear helmets. Like it's more. It does show their personalities more. Is it still something you're going to sit down and watch? Probably not. But like, were you really watching the Pro Bowl? No, you weren't watching the Pro Bowl. So I guess that's a very soft endorsement of flag football.
Well, isn't it at like an outlet mall, like the one in Simpsonville? Am I wrong about that? I mean, it's like kind of off the radar, isn't it?
Oh, I hope so. That would make it even better, right?
That'd be fun. Lugs, what about you? You going to watch some Pro Bowl action?
Probably not. I just don't. I can't see it. I guess. So they'll have Peyton and Eli there, I'm sure, in some capacity, right?
They're coaches again, I think, this year. Yep.
They only upside for me would be the fact that Scott Van Pelt isn't there, so I don't have to shade my eyes from the glare off of that chrome dome. But so anyway, no, I it just doesn't interest me. I got to be honest about it, So.
Well, I think just a wild-ass prediction for us as we move into the next year and Super Bowl 59 on the horizon and a new season coming at the end of the summer. I think we should make it our goal, and a wild-ass prediction. Are you ready? We should replace Scott Van Pelt. What if we did his job?
Hey, I'm good with that.
I mean, come on, dude. I mean, he's not that good.
And he ain't good looking. So
well,
what's there for any of us in that? Fellows, I do have one win though.
Yeah,
I
go
did
ahead.
predict Harbaugh to the Chargers.
True, you did.
And have you seen? I saw a story. Virtually well, maybe not every, but a lot of the billboards around L.A. now have Harbaugh's face on them.
Really? That's great. I love that stuff. I love that.
He's like, the man for the moment because you don't have USC, UCLA. There's nothing really going on.
Yeah.
And the Rams are out. So he's the guy. So it's kind of cool. And I guess Mike McDonald's going to Seattle.
Yeah.
And Raheem Morris is Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I hadn't heard. Have they hired anybody for the commander's job yet?
Nope. It is still open.
What a shock, right? What a shock. They can't do anything right.
Don't you think it'll be Belichick?
No, actually, I was going to bring up, how do you all feel about this? It was noted today. I want to give proper identification for some interesting tidbits coming out this week before the Super Bowl. I'm trying to find it here real quick. Boston Sports Journal's Greg Bedard reports Eagles have interest in former Patriots head coach Bill Belichick. Now, Nick Sirianni's still the coach, but let's say they goes as poorly on the back end as it did, in 2024, as it did in the back end of 2023. Is Bill Belichick a good hire or match with the Eagles?
Tough fan base.
I'd say if he were the head coach and you brought in an actual offensive coordinator, I think Bill would be able to get that defense straightened out. I mean, they just it's like they don't have a rudder. They're a ship without a rudder. Think about it, guys. They won 10 games and then just fell apart. Yeah. And you could just see it. You could physically see it on the field.
Yep.
They had no confidence at all. That's coaching. I'm sorry. That's coaching. So, I would, Belichick deserves another shot somewhere to at least take a stab at beating Don Shula's record, I would say.
What's that, 14 games, 14 wins, I think?
Yeah.
15.
15. Yeah. I agree. Let him give it a go. What the hell? Let's go. Give the guy a gig. But I don't know where.
So, extending question off of that. So that's a prediction for next season, not this upcoming season, or I guess 2 seasons from now.
Right.
What does he do? What do you all predict he does this upcoming season?
Bass fishing.
Bass fishing.
I don't think that Bill does any fishing. I think football is it. So in some capacity, he's going to be in football. I don't think he could stand to be away from it, honestly.
I can see him doing football. The one thing I want to give him a shout out for, he does have another love. The man loves lacrosse. So I predict. I'm sure there's a professional league out there. You want to talk about a guy who's like overqualified. Wherever they're broadcasting professional lacrosse, he will be the color guy for the little cross games across the Northeast, because that's pretty much the only area where people really play lacrosse at that high level.
Kind of stops at the Adirondack Mountains, doesn't it? I don't think it doesn't get very far west. You're right. No.
Yeah. So,
Well,
that's my wild prediction.
Well, I made one, I think, this past year, and it didn't work out too well, though I did get another job. I predicted Arthur Smith, the Falcons coach, would be lost at sea, and that did not work out for me. So
Now, he's offensive coordinator for the Bills.
yeah, that's right. He landed today. That's right. So maybe my prediction's not too far off.
I don't know. You get a failed coach from just I question.
I do too.
The brain trust at Buffalo. I just do.
What do you mean? What are you saying? Who?
Arthur Smith. He's saying
Arthur Smith went to the Steelers.
Did he? Okay, I thought it was Buffalo. Who went to Buffalo? Somebody went to Buffalo.
I'd have to look. I don't know. But actually, I'll ask you. So, how do you all feel about that then? The Steelers taking Arthur Smith.
That's ridiculous.
I don't know. He couldn't do much with Mariota. He did nothing with what's his name, the kid from Cincinnati, the local guy, Ritter.
Yeah.
Not that he's a gift, but why suddenly is he going to be better than that? I don't know. Hard to say.
Well, I'm not saying that Kenny Pickett isn't better than Ritter, but to be fair to your point, J-Boy, is he that much better than Ritter?
Right.
I don't know about that. I even think when you hear Art Rooney, he came out after the hiring of Arthur Smith, and he said that their offense is built around the foundation of their two running backs. That'll be the foundation of their whole entire offense, and it's like, well, okay. It's gonna be Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. Those are the foundational pieces of their offense. It's like, well, that can't be reassuring if you're Kenny Pickett or George Pickens or Deontay Johnson. I mean, like you're like, wait a minute. We're just gonna pound the ball. I guess so.
Plus, neither one of those guys has really set the world on fire in the NFL yet, and I don't think they will.
Running backs.
I like Najee Harris. I like that kid.
I think. Look, I guess to be fair to your point, Lugs, I think they're good. But to be fair to your point, are they? Bijan Robinson, who Arthur Smith wasn't able to use correctly, is more talented than either of them. I guess I'll agree for the most part with you.
Yeah. By the way, before we get any further, I have a closed circuit, as the old Paul Harvey show would say. This is closed circuit for sports radio hosts.
Yes, go ahead, please. You have the floor, please.
Sports radio host, I don't care if your kid won the beta club contest, whatever. I don't care if your wife has plumbing issues. It's like guys keep talking about stuff that's like not sports related. I heard one guy talking about Roswell. Well, that's been since 47. We kind of played that one out. Shut up and give me sports.
So really you want to talk about this?
You got to catch the football. Get your hands out in front and catch the football.
Right. Not about plumbing and Roswell. Oppenheimer.
So that's that. I'm off my soapbox. So that's the end of the story.
You intrigued me. Was this the same host who went over Roswell and plumbing? And how far were they apart when he got okay.
Yeah, I happened to catch one in the morning talking about his kids and, winning some debate contest. And then in the afternoon, that's when I caught the Roswell, and later was the plumbing issue. So anyway.
Man, you like, gotta,
just open up, rip and read sort of. You don't do it anymore, but just open up the old computer there and just read some.
See what text. You can find. All right. Anything else this episode of sports and other stuff?
The only thing I want to bring up real quickly is our boy's favorite OC, Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett.
Yeah.
Athletic did a report where it says they're going to keep Nathaniel Hackett, but they're also seeking a more collaborative play calling process. Guys, to try to cut through that gobbledygook. What does that actually even mean?
I like it.
That means Aaron will be calling his own plays.
Can't wait. See, it's already looking good for next fall. Already, we got storylines.
I'm thinking that Aaron Rodgers, nobody cares anymore. He's going to have to do more like accusing Jimmy Kimmel of being a pedophile, some of that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah.
To get his name out there, because he's done.
He's losing his outlets,
Bye-bye.
too. He's losing his outlets to do so. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, is that it?
That's it.
All right, hey, this has been Sports and Other Stuff, brought to you in part by Henry Lawrence Clothier, where the models buy their clothes. Yes, they do. Many locations across the metro, including Randhurst Shopping Center. Our guy is there tonight. We know him. His name is
Fish. And on January 31st, 1958, the United States entered the space age with its first successful launch of a satellite. That was Explorer 1 from Cape Canaveral. This was a quick response to the Soviet Union's launching of Sputnik 1. Since Explorer 1's launch was the start of many's fascinations with space exploration, this Saturday at 1 p.m., Fish will host what he's calling the Moonshot Space Cadet Marathon. Admission is $20 and will start with 2001: A Space Odyssey and culminate with a special quadraphonic showing of The Right Stuff. So blast off and come on down.
This is Sports and Other Stuff. Thank you, Lugs. T-Dog, it's home of millions throughout mid-America. At least we think so. So long for now. Bye-bye.